I was asked to show you how to map your SLOs to your PLOs. And unfortunately, I discovered that you have an additional step to do before you can do that. I'm going to try and explain it to you by way of this video. So as you can see, I'm looking at your fashion design discipline homepage, right? And I'm encouraging you to look at it with these two pages over here on the right, small, right? And you get that by clicking this here. If you wanted to make this page differently sized, you'd click up here and notice that these become easier to see, and then you shrink down your homepage. But we're not going to use that right now, but it comes in handy. Okay, so here's the problem. In order to map your SLOs to your PLOs, you have to have recorded your PLOs in Nuventive. And what I discovered was you don't have any. Let me contrast that with with my program and what it looks like. So let me go to my homepage in economics. So if you click the PLO assessment here, which is what I just did in yours a minute ago, you'll see I have my PLOs, right? Again, when we go back to yours, they're not there, right? So first step is, how do you record your PLOs into Nuventive? So let's do that first. So you go here, you'd go to, normally it looks closed like this. So you hit PLO assessment, you'd go to PLO assessments and methods. You'd go here. You'd wait for a little while because that's super exciting. And then you would input your PLOs, right? So I'm going to close that. We don't need that. So how do you add a PLO? You do it the same way you added an SLO. So you click here, you write your PLO, you give it the PLO a name, then you write the PLO as it's written on your syllabus. So you would not have, the language for your PLOs does not appear in your course outline of record, and it doesn't appear in the curriculum, right? It's something that you've written somewhere in your program review document. So you write a name on it. That doesn't really all that matter too much. You write the exact language for the PLO, and then you call it active, right? And then you'll say save, and you'll do this again and again until you've got all your PLOs. And you should have no more than 3 PLOs. Always remember to hit close and save. Keep in mind that you're also going to have to, let's say, close. I don't want to save anything here. That's okay. Let me go back. You're also going to have to then, once you do this, you're going to have to create an assessment method and record that. And then the results is something we come to when you map. Let me show you again what mine looks like. So if I went into the area that I just went into on yours, I would go, oops, here, I would go here. I would see that in contrast to where you have no PLOs, there are my 3, right? And I'll just pick one. And you'll see now, since I've got a PLO, right, which again, you don't have, these areas are grayed out, right? These are not grayed out because once you put the PLO in and fill in name, PLO, and status, then you can kind of go in here and say, okay, this is how I'm going to assess it. So I used an essay, described it, I come up with the criteria for success, right? And then we record it, right? So let's go back. Step 1 is you have to record your PLO and your SLO status, right? Save it, and then you're going to be able to record your assessment method and your result. And you have to do that for each PLO you've got. Now, once you've done that, you can then do the mapping. And again, I can't show you mapping on your side because you have nothing to map to. Remember, you map the SLOs to the PLOs. So let me show you what it looks like when it's a little bit further along, right? You're going to go back up here, SLO to PLO mapping. And let me show you. So if you notice, this is across the top here is for this particular course, right? So imagine this is your course and not mine. Introduction to Fashion. You'd have SLO1, SLO2, SLO3. So the SLOs always read across the top, and they're different from course to course to course potentially, right? Your PLOs, which are over on the leftmost column, would be the same no matter what course you have, because they're the same for all courses since they're programs, right? So what happens is you open up a class, your SLOs show up, and then you say, okay, I think this SLO maps to that particular PLO, and you click the X. Now I just unclicked it. You click it anytime you see a green, right? That means that I have said, I make the judgment, just like you're going to make the judgment. I have made the judgment that this SLO maps to that particular PLO. And you do this SLO by SLO, course by course. Okay? SLO by SLO, and then course by course. So for you, you've got a lot more courses. So this is going to take a little bit more time. In the end, here's what it's going to look like. Remember, I said you can make these bigger or smaller. You're going to end up with a grid. I'm going to call this a matrix. Along the leftmost axes, right, is going to be all the courses in fashion design. Across the top are going to be your PLOs, which you don't have yet. And underneath each class will be the name you gave to your SLO. And so when you map, what you're basically saying you're doing is you're creating this map class by class, SLO by SLO, as you go and hit those X's, right? So if you go remember, the course Anthro 1, is saying that SLO, ethnocentrism, maps to 2 different PLOs. So you have to, first of all, put in your SLOs first, come up with your assessment methods, say what your results are going to look like, but don't worry too much about this. And then you're going to go back, once you've done this, and you're going to go into your own mapping area, and you're going to map, oops, sorry, I think I went to the wrong spot. I'm going to go here. Forget what I just did there. You're going to map your PLOs, which you don't have, to your SLOs. So hopefully that helps. Sorry, didn't realize there was that extra step involved. And I can't put that information in for you like I can for the SLOs, right? So you can't submit a Word doc for that. Hope that helps. Let me know.